Well, welcome everyone to the Extraordinary Yoga Teacher Summit created by Great Energy. My name is Christopher. I'm honored to be co-hosting the summit with Daniela Hess. The Extraordinary Yoga Teacher Summit is here to uplift and empower yoga teachers with depth, steadiness, and skill that transforms students' lives. In today's interview, our featured teacher is Eyal Shifroni, whose wisdom and experience offers so much to this path. Eyal's yoga journey began in 1978, and he has been teaching Iyengar yoga since 1985. A transformative milestone was his first visit to Pune in 1988, where he studied directly under the guidance of Guruji BKS Iyengar. These immersive experiences continued regularly until 2018, enriching his practice and understanding of Iyengar yoga. In 2009, he received a Senior Intermediate 3 certificate from BKS Iyengar. As a senior level teacher, he leads the Iyengar Yoga Center of Zichron Yaakov in Israel and conducts yoga workshops both in Israel and worldwide. His passion for yoga has led to the authorship of 9 books on the subject. In his workshops, he delves into the themes of those books to deepen the understanding of yoga practice using props and exploring the intricate connections between the body and mind. Welcome, Eyal.
Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you so much, Eyal, and welcome everyone to this wonderful segment. We're so looking forward to this conversation. And Eyal, if we can just dive right in, I'd love to invite you to share a little bit about through your lens of experience and expertise over many decades. What would you say are some of the essential qualities that are really important that a yoga practitioner cultivate for themselves? And then we'll talk about the essential qualities for a yoga teacher to cultivate for themselves.
Okay, so I think first of all, you need to love the practice. You need to feel that the practice is giving you something emotionally, some kind of deep peace when you practice, or especially after the practice. And once you have this, you get what is called in yoga tapas, which was translated by Guruji Iyengar to a burning desire to transform and to practice. So you need this kind of heat of passion for the practice. This, I think, is the most important thing. Without this, you'd never continue, because it's not so easy to preserve in the practice. It requires also to give up few things. Yeah, like if you want to practice in the morning, you cannot go to parties or to drink in the evenings. You have to keep your diet moderate and so on. So many things which are called boga, which is the enjoyments of life you have to give up for the practice. So you need to get something deep from it. And then the second, I think, important thing is the ability to continue the practice, to preserve perseverance. Because it's not enough that the first enthusiasm. Like I have students that come and they are very enthusiastic. They come for 3 times a week to classes, but I suspect it because I know that, after 2 or 3 months, they kind of worn out and they drop. So you need discipline, self-discipline. You need willpower. You need to put energy in the practice. And this, in Sutra 114, Patanjali defines abhyasa. He said, long time, dirghakala in Sanskrit, long time, nairantarya, without interruption, and satkara. Satkara means with truthfulness and with devotion. So you need these 3 elements. It's not enough long time. If it's interrupted, it's not good. And also I know these students that they come, they preserve for some time, 3 months, 4 months, then you don't see them anymore. Then suddenly I see them in the street, said, okay, yoga, I forgot. They come again for 3 months, then they leave again. And then when they see me in the street, they cross to the other side and I don't see them anymore. So this is not the way to make progress in yoga. You need to preserve. These are the main thing. There are other things that if you would like to, that I add more.
Oh, yes, please. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
So I would differentiate between motivation and ambition. Motivation, you have the motivation to do good for yourself and for others. But ambition is to be good or to impress other people that I'm practicing so good. Ambition. And when you have ambition, you lose your sensitivity and you may injure yourself because you don't respect your limitation. You go for some external goal and not for your own benefit. So a yoga practitioner needs to have the motivation, but not ambition. So then he can be considerate to himself or herself, and then also to others. Because once you learn to give to yourself, you also can give to others. So then you have to remember that yoga is not a kind of gymnastics or sport. Because in sport, they never tell you effortless effort or relax. When you do something, also find the space of relaxation. They will only say more effort, invest more effort. Yes, in sport you have to. I know it's a gymnastic, but in yoga, Patanjali said prayatna shaitilya, which means effortless effort. Which means actually to find, it's not that there's no effort, but it's not effortful effort. You have to find a balance between relaxation and effort. So, and then they should be breathing. So every pause should be also breathable. I don't know if there is a word, but you understand. You should be able to breathe there, to relax, to soften some parts of the body that are not necessary to hold the pose. So it's like you have to keep the pose stable, but at the same time, not to overdo, not to put too much effort, but to find the right balance. And this actually is abhyasa. We talked about abhyasa, that the energy that you need, the effort, but there's also vairagya, the other side of the coin, which is letting go and renunciation. Because yoga is more than just a physical culture. It's not a workout. I have a set of nice t-shirts that somebody in Israel is doing, and it says, yoga, I don't work out, I work in. So in English, it's nice because workout is like putting effort, and the work in is going inside. So these are the most important things that you need. Also, you need to be curious about the subject, to want to study it, to be creative and not to study like in a mechanical way. So in the beginning, you may follow a sequence, and the beginning, can be 10 years, 15 years, that you go to classes, you follow sequences, but then you have to listen to what your body and mind need. Yeah. And follow that. It's more important than like take a sequence from a teacher and follow it. Because you have to be sensitive to yourself and you have to play with it. You have to be creative. Of course, not in the beginning, but once you get a little bit information about the subject and you're getting some maturity, then I think you have to be playful and creative. And for me, it's very important also to play with the props, to find new things, new ways to access the asana. Yeah. So this is another important aspect of being a good practitioner. And then also as a yoga practitioner, you have to be also to be aware to the environment, also to like other people, because suppose you're a family householder and you have a family. If you practice and you neglect your children or your partner, then the practice is not, because yoga is a practice for life, to live better. So it's not that the practice is only on the mat. It's also to be considerate to other people, to be considerate to the environment, to the ecology, human ecology, and the natural ecology. And then a practice like this will give you balance, will give you tolerance, will give you peace and joy. If you don't get all these qualities of tolerance, peace and joy, then something is wrong in the practice. And you have to look for it. Sometimes, there are periods that the practice is not going so well, but you have to analyze and to study and then to change. And as I said, practice is not only on the mat. And there's one very important sutra in chapter 1. It says 133. It says Maitri Karuna Mudita Upeksha. It means friendliness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. So friendliness, it means that you should treat everybody like a friend. That you should care about people. You should wish them well. And compassion, of course, is to try to first to feel the suffering of other people or also animals, and to want to help them. This kind of motive to help others is compassion. And sympathetic joy, or mudita, is to be happy with the success of other people. Yeah, because usually when you see other people, we are jealous. So it's not natural for us. So we have all these things we have to practice. It's kind of practice which is not exactly, asana practice, but it is like completely like incline your heart to be more loving, more considerate, more compassionate, and more joyful. So yeah, I think if you have all this, you're a good practitioner.
I think that's an awesome list. Thank you. And then to take that same invitation, that same question, and apply it to yoga teachers, then from the practitioner to the yoga teacher, what are some essential qualities through your years of expertise are really necessary qualities for an extraordinary yoga teacher to cultivate for themselves?
Yes, so first of all, you have to be a good practitioner, because the practice is based on, the teaching is based on your practice. If you're not practicing, you actually just convey like a second-hand knowledge that you didn't experience it. You heard it and you pass it on. It will not be effective. It has to come from inside. So first of all, you have to be a practitioner which is devoted to the practice and have all these qualities that I don't want to repeat, but you have to be a good practitioner. You need this passion for the practice, because otherwise you cannot pass it on. I mean, of course, we learn from the teachers, and I try to convey the best that I can what I learned from Guruji, but I would say that everything that I teach, I learned from Guruji, but I don't teach anything that I didn't experience myself also. So if I just heard something and I didn't experience, I don't understand it, I will not teach it. So this is, I think, the first thing is to be a good practitioner and to teach only what you experience, not just preaching things, but really live this practice. The other thing, as a teacher, you have to care about people, because you are dealing with people, and you have to develop empathy you have to remember that you are there for the students, not for yourself. When you come to class, you forget yourself. It's not for your own practice. You demonstrate, but you demonstrate for the students. And you look at the students. You want them to be good, to be successful in practice and also in life. So this kind of motivation is, I think, it's very important. Without this, you will not be a good teacher. Then the third thing, I think, is to create an atmosphere of not judgmental, not criticizing student, not insulting student, not have the feeling that there's some competition. With others, always yourself. Yeah? You should not even compete with yourself. You should practice because it makes you feel good. Yeah? So it's not a competition. And since we live, in the world as it is, we are very competitive and we are very ambitious and judgmental. And because in the capitalist society, it's all about competition, and yoga is different. So the teacher the ambience in the class should be like this, which is not judgmental. That the opposite, it should be encouraging. Encourage every student. Okay, there are a few more things. You have more questions, or you want me to go on?
Oh, no, you can continue, and then I
Okay.
have more questions. Yeah.
So patience, I think, and as a teacher, I know any teacher, you would agree with me that you need a lot of patience because, sometimes the students are, and you have to be also to have a big container, like it's equanimity. Equanimity means that you can be with unpleasant things and not like react automatically, not be too much disturbed. Of course, you feel you're not. It's not that you like everybody evenly. It's impossible. You cannot like all the students. But you should not show preferences. And even the student is, makes you angry. You should not, express it or act out. You should be able to contain this emotion, and give the best reaction or the best response that is possible in the situation. But it doesn't mean that you allow everything. Some behaviors are not right, but the question is how you deal it. If you deal it from anger, maybe you'll insult the student, and this is not what we want to do. So patience and ability to contain. Then you have to be professional in your material, in your field. You have to study. You have to. I think one of the things that in Iyengar Yoga that we have a long process of qualification for certification, and really learn, all the techniques, and you become very professional. And there is assessment. You don't get a certificate, just you have to be assessed. You have to. So professional, you have to be professional. Then you have to develop. You have to keep learning. A teacher is a learner. Otherwise, you'll not be able to bring new things. Yeah. And you should not narrow the teaching only to technique. You should learn the philosophy. You should give the idea of the whole subject. It's not only asana is one limb out of 8. So you should talk about yama and niyama, all the ethical conduct. You should mention, concentration, meditation, and I don't do it for beginners, but for my advanced groups, very often I start class with something from the sutras, and we discuss it together, and it's very enriching. So you should show the students the entire domain, not just asanas. There's more to this. There's pranayama, there's dhyana, meditation, there's, of course, the base of everything is the yama and niyamas. Should I explain what are the yamas and niyamas, or?
Oh, we'd love to hear through your lens. Absolutely.
Well, there are 5 yamas: ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, parigraha. Ahimsa is non-killing, non-injury. And it's even, Vyasa said, Vyasa is the first and foremost interpreter of Patanjali. And when you study the sutras, usually you refer to Vyasa. So he says that you should not have any intention to injure. It's not only external that you should not injure, but you should not have even the intention to do it. And it's quite deep if you start, to think about it, because, okay, when we sit here and talk, it's very nice to say, okay, we are not violent, we are not aggressive. But what happens if somebody is threatening you or stepping on you, taking something that it belongs to you? How do you react in a non-violent way, non-aggressive way? So it's a lot of practice to, had Mahatma Gandhi, which was the master in ahimsa. And also in satya. So satya is truthfulness, is, again, not to want to watch how you use language. Also the thinking, but mainly the language. And, the Buddha has the instructions that before you say anything, before you utter any word, first you should ask yourself, you should give some filters. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind to say it? And is it the right time? And if it doesn't go all these 4 filters, don't say it. I think we would talk much less if we really had to follow this. Because sometimes we say things that we are not sure they're true. Sometimes they're not kind. Sometimes they're not necessary to say in that moment, and so on. So it's really a practice. Speaking is a practice. When you go in Vipassana, you don't talk, so at least you cannot violate this, the satya. But in life, we need to talk. And then the asteya, not to take anything that is not given to you for free. And then brahmacharya is like to control your you control your sexual impulse, but also other impulses. To be moderate, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't avoid completely and be a monk and not to do sex at all, but you should control this impulse and not use it improperly. So I interpret brahmacharya like this. Some people said, okay, it's completely avoidance, but I think for householder, it's not, if you want to have family. And Iyengar, my guru Iyengar has 5 kids, I think, or maybe 6, 1 boy, and I think maybe 4 or 5 daughters. And then there is a parigraha, which is even more than asteya. Asteya is not to take anything that is not given to you, but aparigraha is not to accumulate things, not to be possessive, not non-hoarding, to live a simple life and to control your greed, to collect more and more. And this is, again, it's not simple because sometimes we're afraid that we will not have enough in the future. So we want to accumulate things because we're afraid of lacking in the future. So you have to observe this fear and to have some faith that you'll be able to support yourself and your family. And again, it's a kind, like everything, it's a kind of not to go to an extreme, because you can be a sadhu, like the sadhus are the people that are going out in the roads in India and have nothing. They're just something to beg, that people give them food and that's how they survive. So we are not living like this. but then it doesn't mean that we should be greedy. And, you know, sometimes it's difficult to differentiate between need and greed. Like, for example, the cell phone, like, I think 15 years ago, it was luxury. It was not complete necessary. Today it is. So things are changing. So there are, you know, a lot of guidelines on how to follow these 5 yamas. And then the niyamas are the shaucha, which is cleanness, purity, santosha, contentment, which is also very important. And the contentment is also feeling of gratitude, which is very important. I start my morning meditation and I start in thinking about all the good things I have. Instead of focusing on a negative or the half empty, you're focusing on what you have, and we have so much. We have a lot of things. We are healthy enough to practice. We have this beautiful path of yoga. We have good relationship with people, people that love us, we love them. We have enough things that we can, fortunate enough to live with some, we are not looking for food all the time. We have house, we have something to wear. So there are many things to be grateful about. And so then you develop santosha, contentment. And then the other 3 is tapas, svadhyaya, ishvara, pranidhana, which actually I mentioned because tapas is the passion to practice, the burning desire. Svadhyaya is self-study and also study of the scriptures. So when you study the philosophy of yoga, it's a svadhyaya. And ishvara pranidhana is like surrendering, which is also important part of yoga. Not to develop a big ego, not to put yourself in the center, not to have like self-importance, but to be able to see other people's, other views and renounce. So surrendering. It is surrendering to Ishvara, which is like a non-personal God, but you can take it just as, like as in the Bhagavad Gita, they said that how you should act in the world. This is the main question, issue in the Bhagavad Gita. And well, I give it very short because the time is short, but it's a whole book with 18 chapters that discuss the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. But the bottom line is that you should act without looking after the fruit of the action. You should do the action because it's the right action to do, not because you are looking for to get something out of it. You don't work for the fruits, you work for the work, for the service. So this is part of, I think, Ishvara Pranidhana, like you devote the fruits to somebody else. So you could say God or whatever. Then you should have keen observation to know each student, to be sensitive enough to see his practice, her practice, and how to correct. So observation is very important for a teacher. And be modest. Yeah, which is part of Ishvara Pranidhana, not to put yourself in the center. Yeah, I think that's quite... and yeah, I think teaching, I encourage everybody to be a yoga teacher. But on the other side, it's not easy. It's a very tough subject. Because to have all these qualities, it's really difficult. And nobody's perfect, you cannot have everything. But if you care for people, you want to give them, and if you're a good practitioner, then you can be a successful teacher. You should take it seriously. And today there are students, they go to 1 month teacher training and then they become a teachers. So I think this is not serious. You need to have like a few years of practice before you think about teaching. You have first to see if the practice is good for you, is doing good for you, and become quite mature in it. And then you should go to qualification as a teacher, which should also be intense and should invest several years in study, in teaching and getting feedback on your teaching and learning all the techniques and how. So if I have a message for students, that yes, I encourage you to be teachers, but take it seriously and practice first, and then learn the subject to a greater depth, because it's a very, very deep subject. It's a life-changing discipline.
Thank you so much. Eyal, I'd love to ask you a little bit about optimism and joy. You have a beautiful gift for participants of this summit, for those who are watching this beautiful message on the link below. And you have offered up a sequence to increase optimism and joy. And I wonder if you could share a little bit about how how that was personal for you, part of your journey, and what sources that as a gift for participants.
Yeah, so first of all, I wrote a book together with a friend of mine, which is a philosopher and a longtime student of mine, Ohad Nachtomi, and we wrote together a book which is called The Psychophysical Lab. And it deals with the connection between body and mind in the practice of yoga, in the prism of yoga. And we give sequences for different emotional effects, like when you sequence to build joy, that when you feel a little bit down, which happens to, I think, everybody, that a little bit gloomy, then there's a practice that can make you happy, can cheer you up. And this is mainly like chest opening, because when you do back bends, could be supported back bends or more intense back bends. It depends on your age or health condition, but chest opening and breathing usually takes away the gloom. And that's why I said that you have to be sensitive to yourself and to know each day what you need. Practice should not be mechanical. So sometimes depend on the guna, which controls. If you are in rajas, you are overactive. There is too much rajas. The tamas rajas sattva. Yeah. So rajas is activity, dynamism, which is good. We need it. But if it's hyperactivity, then we need to come down. Then I will do forward bends mainly and meditation. And if I'm down a little bit tamasic, heavy, lazy, then I want something to put energy. So maybe I'll do some standing poses, some dynamic practice, jumping. And if I'm a little bit down, then I do this opening, chest opening. And yeah, so practice is an art to know what you need for every day. So yeah.
Thank you. This is such a beautiful gift. I love it. I just love it. Optimism and joy. And that's, I just thank you so much for spending this half hour with us and with everyone here right now. And Eyal, it's been a real pleasure and an honor and a joy to get to meet you and connect with you today. So thank you so much for your dedication, for your devotion, and for your generosity with your time and energy today.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share these messages, because they're important for me, and you've been so kind to invite me.
Oh,
So
it's
thank
a
you.
real pleasure. It's a real pleasure. So friends, please click below and you can receive your this beautiful gift from Eyal, the sequence for optimism and joy. And Christopher, is there anything else to share in closing?
I'm really grateful that you're here as well, Eyal. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for that deep dive. From my experience, I've studied in a number of different schools, and I spent a couple of years with an Iyengar yoga teacher, and it was the most challenging of all that I experienced, and I learned the most in those few years. So I have deep respect for BKS Iyengar and all of the students and schools and teachings that he so generously shared with the world. It is a very valuable aspect, very valuable school, a very valuable dimension in this big wide world of yoga. So if any of you haven't had a chance to try an Iyengar yoga class, please do and find out if it'll make the difference for you that it did for me in my practice.
Thank you, Eyal.
Thank you
Mm,
very much,
Bye,
Daniela and
everyone.
Christopher.
Thank you
We'll
so
see.
much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.